Hey guys, we're here with Justin Tipping, the awesome director, writer of Kicks, that's premiering tonight at Tribeca Film Festival 2016. Justin, say hi to our viewers.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, so congratulations, Justin, on this wonderful, wonderful film. Great job. This is definitely one of the best films I have seen this year, one of the best films at Tribeca Film Festival. Congratulations, it's really, really amazing. So,
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about how did you come up with this idea and what motivated to make you this film?
Yeah, the emotional impetus for this story is actually inspired by a true story of time I was 16 and I got jumped over a pair of Nikes. It was, just wrong place, wrong time, and I knew exactly what was going to happen because the first thing they said was, "He's got the white Prestos," and I looked down and I was like, "Oh man, here we go." But the fallout of that, was basically, going home and like two black guys, bloody lip, busted up, and it's something that happened all the time. People's chains get snatched, like stuff gets stolen every day, but I always seemed to find a way to avoid violence as much as possible because I was always like 5 foot, like 82 pounds, like the smallest kid. So when it actually happened to me, I remember my older brother telling me, like, "It's okay, like you're a man now, like man up." And at that moment, I was super proud, and then it was just super saddening to me in retrospect because I was just like, wait, wait a minute, why does me getting beaten up like have to do with becoming a man? And so then I realized, like, I think on a bigger level, I wanted to explore like why violence is synonymous with becoming a man and why it's like perpetuated in our culture and society is always like man up, do this, and I had to deal with the fact that like people would be like, "Well, you at least got a hit in, right?" Blah blah blah. I was like, that's also humiliating to your peers. It's like, no, I actually have never hit anybody. Like, but so that's kind of where the kernel of that idea started, and then the other things I wanted to explore was like kind of like bullying, and how I wondered if like nowadays all on YouTube or World Star Hip Hop has like drops of the week, and it's just like crazy that like people are so obsessed with watching other people get beat up.
Right.
And that was something I want to explore. And then I also the shoes were kind of a great signifier to represent this like object obsession we have, or commodity fetishism we have ingrained in our culture as well. Where it's like, at what length would people, what makes people want to go to that point of like, risking their life for over shoes? And it could have been any other object. It's just but specifically this just made sense to the world and what I knew. So, and unfortunately, it happens every day to kids. And
well, yeah, the shoes as that object, I think it really connects well with almost all of us, right? We have all had our favorite shoe story as kid. Almost everybody. So yeah. That I immediately connected to not having such awesome shoes growing up, and then whatever you get that gets attached so well. So yeah, that was amazing. Although. Something which some people while watching the movie, while talking to folks, I found interesting in both ways was the imaginative world that goes with it, with the spaceman.
Yeah.
And I personally liked it because I think that's what movies are about. Imagination, dreams. It's so realistic, this film, that having that element, as far as I'm concerned, elevates it. Because that's what I want in a movie, a dream world too. But what was your thought behind it? Why and what did you want to tell? What do you think? Why is it was significant for you?
It's also a complicated character in the sense that it's operating on I think, two levels for me. One, I think formalistically, it has some semiotic weight to it because, like, as a boy, it's like the first thing you think of, associate with, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? An astronaut. So it kind of represents this innocence and nostalgia for childhood dreams. And two, I think, you know, this kid, the character Brandon, is such an introverted, like, in his own head kid who literally his first lines in the movie is, "I wish I had a spaceship so I could be left alone," which to me is super, you know, that level of loneliness represented through an astronaut. Like, seeing an astronaut in the world is super lonely to me. Like, it's just a sad, like, he's out of his element, you know. But that thing that was just visually, but like metaphorically for me, the astronaut was kind of this false guardian angel because he represented his machismo, like his confidence, right? So at first, when you see him, you're like, oh, he's got this like guardian angel that's like following him, but eventually he takes him down this terrible path into like becoming the kid that he hates the most, the person that he hates the most. And I think that's because our idea of what it means to man up and, you know, do whatever it takes to, you know, to prove your worth through violence, right, is flawed anyway. Therefore, the astronaut's flawed, and that's why, like, we have to kill him off at the end because he's gone through this and he's got to shed the security blanket. Right.
As I said, that does actually elevate it to another level and gives it another dimension, right? Where you can think a lot, and of course some special effects.
Yeah, and it also looks cool.
Yeah,
I always wanted an astronaut.
Yeah. So an amazing cast, by the way. Of course, from the newcomers to you know, of course, some established actors. What was the casting process like for you, including, because you have a mix of Mahershala, who's already an established actor, but it's a very different role. I mean, you know, somebody who's seen in them a lot on House of Cards. He's absolutely, and he's a great actor. I've seen his other work, but if somebody has not, he's a complete transformation. I mean, it's amazing, but of course the lead cast, the kids, all three of them, you know, they just blast through, you know. How's the casting process?
It was hard. Kind of knew that it was going to be a mix of actors and non-actors, and probably the three leads, it was kind of important to have some experience, so that because we had to move so fast on set with underage kids. So I think we basically had casting director in San Francisco and LA kind of seeing hundreds of kids at the same time, and we had really blessed to get, you know, people that just believes in the project, like Kim Harden, and she had done like Hustle and Flow and Next Friday, and so it's great working with her. And then I also just literally hit the streets and would have flyers and run up to kids in neighborhoods we were going to shoot at and be like, do you want to be in a movie? And they'd be like, what, like no one, like, it was amazing putting them on tape. And then, you know, we went to as many youth organizations as we could that had like arts after school programs, and we just brought a camera and said, any kid that wants to audition, like, please audition. So ultimately we found, you know, CJ, Chris, and Jahking through in LA, and then kind of and Kofi as well, who plays Flacco. And then everyone else we kind of sprinkled in, like, just kids I met, kids we found from the neighborhoods. And Ali actually was amazing, is that we got connected because I didn't know this, but he grew up in the Bay Area, like right next to where I grew up. And so he immediately, it was just like I was like, wait, who's calling me? Like, I have a meeting with who? Like, isn't he on like the House of Cards and Hunger Games dude? Like, oh, okay. And then he was just like, he had read the script and was just like, I get it. I was like, and we just shared stories about growing up in the Bay Area, and was like, sign me up. So he did a huge favor. So shouts out.
Mahershala Ali. He's amazing. I think, you know, Great pick by him. Of course, thanks, but also great pick. That's a very different flavor we get to see. It's amazing.
Yeah, he's incredible.
But, on the casting side, what was the what inspired you for the decision of making all these, like one looks like a child, one looks like a teenager, and the guy they're fighting with looks like a grown-up man.
Yeah.
Why not keep them in? What was the inspiration behind that? Just comes out.
Yeah.
Film.
Well, I wanted the dynamic between Brandon and his two friends to feel like that on purpose. It was a choice so that, I had written him as like a prepubescent kid, so kind of like I wanted him to feel like the runt of the litter, like a kid who hadn't yet gone through puberty, basically, and surround him with characters. Yeah, basically me. Let's just call a spade a spade. I hit puberty like last year, so but yeah, and then to surround him with characters like Rico and Albert, like Rico's just naturally like he looks up to him like wow, he gets girls, and there's Albert who's like he might not be as attractive as or whatever in the story, but he still has confidence, and Brandon doesn't have that confidence yet, and so I wanted them to feel like older brother types where he's like lucky to be hanging out with them. So that he had a bigger place to
and makes you feel more
go.
Connected and concerned immediately with that age groups. Within the first 5-10 minutes of the story, you're connected, invested in that character, which I think might not have happened if it was a grown-up type. So I think that's brilliant. The music is amazing. I know you're also talking about the music in Tropical Talks, and it's the great music. What was that process like?
It was crazy. It was crazy. I knew from the beginning that I wanted to have it be a mix of, hip hop and epic, like score. Because I don't think. For me, this was always. Well, I wanted to treat it like a teenage odyssey, like an epic, and give it epic weight, even though like it's just about shoes on the surface. So I was again like really blessed to be able to work with Brian Reitzel, who's a great composer, and then on top of that, it was basically, to me, like as a teenager too, like I was always like rapping in my head. I was a hip hop head, and I was like always rapping, and sometimes it's like you associate that with certain things in your life, or like, so that's where that kind of came in, where like I wanted it to, be his soundtrack in his head, and I guess it's actually all over the place because it goes to soul, but I think everything I was trying to make a music movie in a way.
It's practically a musical in the sense because the songs tell so much story at every point, and the tempo changes and the story changes, and it's like you just get invested completely different. Amazing. Last question. So, as a filmmaker, again, this is a very important subject, as I said. So, what do you think as a filmmaker, as an artist? How do you think that a filmmaker and artist have responsibility towards society and what we present? Because there's a lot of entertainment out there, but there's not a lot of value in that entertainment.
Right.
What's your thought? Because this is a very important film. What do you think?
I think there's always room for like films that exist just for escapism. But I come from a place of like I started getting into movies and writing because I was studying like film history and was like looking at how underrepresented and marginalized people of color were, and I think there's a huge responsibility because it's such a privilege to be able to talk to millions of people, and it can last forever, and you can speak to millions of people over and over, as long as you can project a story on a wall. So for me, I mean, I think film is it's like a two-way mirror, like the screen. It's like it's a reflection of society, and I do think it is important to tell stories that reflect how we live now and what that means, and why. I think, you know, it's easy to learn a craft, and I think the hardest part about filmmaking is knowing what stories should be told. I think that's like the hardest thing.
You do a great job of that with this wonderful film. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
I appreciate it.
Justin Dipping with myNewYorkeye. This is Shrian saying goodbye. Thank you.